welcome back to the M Wait Hour YouTube channel, the home of album reviews, discography guides and think pieces. So we finally did it. After about a year and a half or maybe a bit longer, we finally hit 100 subscribers, which I'm absolutely over the moon about. Like, thank you so much. Like, this is easily like the fastest growing, most successful like thing I've ever done on YouTube, and to be fair, I'm glad about it because it's the best content I think I've ever made personally. And we're actually at 105 now, which is even more ridiculous, so thank you very much for that. And I was wondering what to do for the 100 subscriber special, because originally what I was going to do is I was going to do kind of a continuation of the How to Scarlord joke video by having like an interview with the fictional rapper Woke Boy that I made up as kind of like a rip-off Scarlord persona. And so I wrote some stuff and then tried to do a voiceover for it, but then realised quite quickly that it was tragically unfunny, and I didn't really have any other ideas apart from one in the back of my mind which I was regretting having to do, but I realised was probably the only sensible answer. So what you're about to hear is the spoken segments, or the podcast segments if you like, of the first ever radio show that I did for Drystone Radio back in 2019 now. I think it was even January of 2019. I think if I remember correctly, actually I can pinpoint the date exactly. I think it may have been around maybe late February, early March of 2019, I think is when I did this. And these are just the spoken segments, obviously, because copyright, like I don't want to get absolutely done by copyright. Like I know I play segments of songs in all of my videos, but like not whole songs. So what you'll hear basically is the first 10 seconds of a song, then it fades out, and then the last 10 seconds, and then me talking. So basically, it's more of a sort of podcast edit of my first ever radio show that I did, and I'm going to regret this as soon as I upload it, I know, but I mean, it's at least interesting because I sound so nervous and like so just prepubescent and awful, but like, I suppose it's still good to have it as a record of like, this is how this channel started originally. It was meant to be like a companion piece for the radio show, so like you listen to the radio show and then go watch the videos afterwards. That was the idea, but then I quickly realised that after I quit Drystone in June of 2020, I believe it was, that, you know, I might as well just carry this on because I was really enjoying what I was doing. So, you know, I think the radio show is definitely integral to everything that I do, and so I thought, what better way to celebrate 100 subscribers than giving you a little glimpse into my first ever radio show. I might consider publishing the whole thing in its entirety in the future, although I probably will leave a song list from the radio show in the description, just in case you feel curious in terms of like the songs and wanting to check them out. So, enough waffling from me. Here is the official podcast edit of my first ever radio show from March 2019 for 100 subscribers. Cheers, guys.
So
1 2 1 2 1 2 1
perfect,
2
so
1 2.
that's
Yeah.
good. So fade that down.
Drystone Radio. Good morning, you're with Steve here on Craven at Breakfast. Very good evening to you. I'm Terry Butterworth and welcome to The Rock Show.
Welcome to today's edition of Backseat Drive with me, Mark Stone.
Local and loving it. This is Drystone Radio. Celebrating 10 years serving Craven and beyond. Happy birthday, Drystone Radio.
Primal, Scream and Prodigy there on Drystone Radio. Now, hi, I'm Evan, and you know, if you're sick of hearing the same like 10 or 15 songs being played on the radio constantly, then I suppose you've come to sort of the right place, and you also get to know me on a bit more of a personal level, because I handpicked these tracks for the show. So, for instance, I like a lot of 90s music, so obviously we played Primal, Scream and Prodigy, and yeah, so hopefully that's basically how this show runs. And so now we can't really hit you with a load of high energy songs over and over and over again. So here are some more like sort of chilled out songs from, you know, two bands that I find are really cool. So these are some songs from Elbow and Gorillaz.
Tenor open out into New York. Swearing all that talk is all in modern Rome, where folk are nice to Yoko.
The radio station celebrating all things local.
We are Drystone Radio.
That was New York Morning from Elbow's, I think, underrated 2014 album, Take Off and Landing of Everything, and that was Gorillaz' Stylo from my personal favourite Gorillaz album, 2010's Plastic Beach. So after that, I know what you're thinking. I've liked those tunes, but you know, they're a bit old and, you know, sort of a bit subdued, so now I think it's time for something a bit more recent and a bit more high energy. Great tune, that was Cut and Run from Slaves. Great album for Acts of Fear and Love that was released last year. I thought it was great. And speaking of people with recently released albums, the next track we're going to play is from an artist from Sheffield called Fatboy, who has a brand new album out called Internationally Unknown, and I highly recommend you check it out. It's great. I've been listening to it for the past couple of weeks. There's a bit of rock, bit of punk, bit of reggae, you know, all sorts of stuff in there. And before that album was released, I actually managed to see Fatboy at Bingley Music Live, where he played a lot of stuff off his 2017 album Scum, which is what the track I'm going to play for you now is off, and this is Sign On. That was Fatboy from his 2017 album Scum, and also who, like I said, I saw at Bingley Music Live last year. And the last BML actually had a really good lineup. You know, we had obviously Fatboy and also Mama Zetz and Noel Gallagher. But the sole reason that I was there was to see the set from John Lydon's legendary band Public Image Limited. And these guys, you know, they're more famous for their work in the 70s, like obviously their first album and Metal Box, but I think they had some great albums from the 80s, and so that's what we're going to play for you now. This is Seattle from their album in 1987 called Happy. Have a listen. That was Public Image Limited and Seattle. Love that tune. The BML set was actually really good as well and also had a rather hilarious ending. Now, as I said earlier, I was a massive fan and still am of the music of the 90s, probably because it was better than the music that's out now. But one of the biggest movements, I suppose, in the 90s in Britain was the sort of big beat and like jungle movements that were in the underground clubs that later evolved into drum and bass. So now here are a couple of tunes from both of those styles that I think you will absolutely love.
We love local. Drystone Radio.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother.
So that was Pendulum with Propane Nightmares, and right about then was Fatboy Slim with Rockafeller Skank, which had a lot more weird switch-ups and sound effects than I remember. I thought I'd broken something for a second. Like I said earlier, I was obviously, and still am, a big fan of 90s music, but also a big movement that happened in the 2000s in England was like sort of the Britpop thing
which like morphed into like post-Britpop. You had a bunch of like indie bands coming up and doing their own thing, which I thought was really cool. But obviously one of the biggest bands in this period was Coldplay, and one of their more famous albums is A Rush of Blood to the Head. And most people, when presented to play one of the songs off that album, would probably reach for like Clocks or The Scientist or something. But I thought I'd go a bit deeper than that, so here is Daylight by Coldplay. That was Daylight by Coldplay, again, a severely underrated track from their 2002 album Rush of Blood to the Head, which I highly recommend you go track searching for. There are a lot of other great hidden gems there. And I'd say as far as relaxed songs go, that is definitely one of the more cooler sounding. But after that, what better way to follow up a chill, down-tempo song like that with some up-tempo, fast, good old punk tunes, which we will play for you now.
Bringing you 10 years of local community radio for Craven. And we're not done yet. Happy birthday, Drystone Radio.
I'm totally wired.
That was Totally Wired from underrated band The Fall, who had Mark E. Smith, probably one of the best frontmen in history, and of course before that the Mighty Pistols and Pretty Vacant. Now, I hope you've enjoyed the show. I know I have, and you know, it's been fun, and hopefully in the process of listening to this you've managed to, you know, get some new tunes, you know, broaden your horizons a bit, you know. That's what I always try and do, so hopefully you've had fun while doing so as well, because I know for a fact I have. So to end the show off, what better way to do so than a classic track from a classic album from a fantastic band? It is, of course, Paranoid by Black Sabbath.
On FM.
On your phone.
And here.
Play Drystone Radio.
This is Drystone Radio.
News.